Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to another League of Legends guide. Today we're updating our Jinx guide for patch 6.20.
Rules are made to be broken. Like buildings. Or people.
Jinx is a late game hyper carry with high burst damage, and although she has received some nerfs recently, she's still one of the best AD carries for solo queue, as she is ranked 3rd amongst all AD carries for win rate. She builds a Runaan's Hurricane and does have AoE from her rockets, which gives her really solid wave clear. Then, when she is in minigun form, she's able to shred towers. She then has a really solid global ultimate and great synergy with the majority of support champions. However, Jinx has no reliable escape, which is probably her biggest con. Having proper positioning is extremely important on Jinx, and outside of your passive proc, you have no mobility. You then struggle early on at 1v1ing most AD carries, and you do have a lot of mana issues early on with your rockets, as it is 20 mana per rocket. Despite these cons, if you do make it to late game and have a lot of farm, you are able to hyper carry. For my Masteries, I go 18 Ferocity and 12 Cunning, grabbing Fervor of Battle as my Keystone Mastery. Jinx does have stacking attack speed on her minigun, and having Fervor works really well with that skill. You could take Warlord Bloodlust like some of the AD carries do at the moment, but Fervor of Battle is too strong on Jinx in my opinion. For my runes, I go 9 attack damage reds, 9 armor yellows, 5 attack speed blues, 4 magic resist blues, and 3 attack speed quints. This is a very generic rune setup for all AD carries, but I do grab a little bit of extra attack speed in my blues to get my minigun and my Fervor of Battle rolling. For our summoners, the first one we want to grab is Flash. Jinx is a rather immobile champion outside of a proc from her passive and has no built-in escape. Flash gives you that reliable escape you need as an AD carry and can save you in tons of different situations. Now heal is the next required summoner spell. It's also great to save your life from the actual heal, but also has other uses. The movement speed from the summoner spell can be used offensively or defensively. Yet again, this can save your life, or you can use it to speed yourself up and chase for a kill. As for the alternatives, well, there's not any. Be a good AD carry and take Flash and heal. Now let's kick off your abilities by looking at your passive, Get Excited. Jinx gains 175% bonus movement speed, which decays over 6 seconds whenever an enemy champion or structure dies within 3 seconds of being damaged by her. Additionally, you will gain 15% total attack speed for that same duration, stacking indefinitely. So, like I said before, this is your only way of actually gaining some mobility. It can also be the difference between you cleaning up an entire fight or getting nothing done at all. Try hard to get an early kill in that team fight so you can move around, getting yourself additional kills or kiting if necessary. Now let's look at the first form of your Q, your minigun, Pow Pow. So your basic attacks each grant her bonus attack speed for 2.5 seconds, stacking up to 3 times for a maximum of between 0 and 70% based on level, plus an additional amount per rank, and that is between 30 and 70% fully stacked. The static cooldown of this ability is then 0.9 seconds. So when you're able to safely attack from a close range, this is the form of Q you're going to be using. All of that stacking attack speed is of course going to deal a lot more damage than the other form of your Q, at least on a single target. So use it when you're in a close range and you know you're safe, or a bruiser is charging for you and you will be in close range and you need extra damage. But now let's look at the second form of your Q, your rocket launcher, Fishbones. Jinx loses 25% bonus attack speed and her basic attacks gain bonus range. Additionally, each basic attack consumes mana and deals 10% AD bonus damage, dealing their damage to all enemies around the main target. That bonus and splash damage are both factored into critical strikes. So in teamfights where you need to stay at a long range, this is primarily the form of Q that you're going to be using. That extra 175 bonus range is really fantastic on Jinx, considering you don't have to get too close to the teamfight. When somebody charges you, you can drop your Flame Chompers, switch to the other form of your Q, and quickly burst that target down, and then switch back when needed. This also works great with the Runaan's Hurricane because the on-hit splash damage effect from that Fishbones will be triggered for each bolt from the Runaan's Hurricane. Now let's look at your W, Zap. After a short delay, Jinx fires a Shock Blast that deals physical damage to the first enemy it hits, revealing and slowing them for 2 seconds. This ability has a whopping 140% AD ratio, and the slow is up to 70%. So although this does have a really high AD ratio, it is somewhat unreliable damage considering you can hide behind minions. Because of this, it's not as strong as maxing our Q, but it is better than our E, so we max this 1 second right behind our Q. Generally, you're going to want to chain CC with your support using your E first, and after the stun does wear off, you can follow up with a W, so you do slow that target, and you can go for that kill. So let's look at that last basic ability, your E, Flame Chompers. So, Jinx tosses out 3 Flame Chompers that arm after 0.7 seconds, and automatically trigger after 5 seconds. They will also explode when they do get contact with an enemy champion. So when somebody does walk over them, they are rooted for 1.5 seconds and take a bit of magic damage over that duration as well. So this is your main way of CCing an enemy champion. This is a great ability for chain CCing with your support. Let's say you're partnered with a Leona. She goes in with her Zenith Blade, stuns the target, then you'll want to drop your Flame Chompers underneath that target to chain the CC and put out all of your damage for a really easy kill. In a team fight, usually I like to save this for when somebody is trying to engage on me so I can peel for myself. Generally, when they finally get to me, they won't have full health, so I will drop this underneath myself, switch to my minigun, and destroy that target. So let's look at that last ability, your ultimate, Super Mega Death Rocket. Jinx fires a rocket that travels in a line, exploding in an area upon hitting an enemy champion, and secondary targets will take 80% of the damage. Enemies caught in the explosion take between 15 and 150% based on the distance traveled of the rocket's physical damage plus additional physical damage based on their missing health. So since this is based off of target's missing health, it is a great way to execute a target. In a team fight, generally you're going to want to wait until people are missing at least half of their health before you shoot this in and try to hit as many targets as possible. When you are in the lane phase, make sure you're looking at the minimap for opportunities to try to snipe people across the map with this ability, as it is a great way to get yourself snowballed. It doesn't have a long cooldown, at least when you do compare it to other ultimates, so it's definitely worth the chance. For our skill order, we first grab a point into our ultimate whenever we can at 6, 11, and 16. Then we focus on maxing our Q for that attack speed in minigun form and the extra range in rocket launcher form. Then focus on maxing that W as you do get an increased slow, and it does have a 140% AD ratio. Finally, we get one early point into our E because it is based off of AP, and the duration is always 1.5 seconds, no matter what level it is. So at level 2, you want to either take your W or your E. If you're kind of just trying to poke the enemy and doing as much damage as possible, you'll want to take W at level 2, but if you are trying to chain CC with something like a level 2 Leona, please, for the love of God, make sure you take your Flame Chompers at level 2 instead. Now in the pros and cons page, I said Jinx basically works with every support there is, but let's look at a couple of my favorites. So first is Nami, and there's a reason she is one of the most played supports in Worlds right now. Her Aqua Prison combos really well with your Flame Chompers, and then she's able to peel for you with her Tidal Wave and offers a ton of sustain in the lane with her Ebb and Flow. Finally, she can even buff you and increase your damage with Tidecaller's Blessing. A very, very solid combo. Next, we have Leona, and she's able to CC her targets with either her Zenith Blade and Shield of the Daybreak combo or her Solar Flare to get some easy kills when it is combined with your Flame Chompers. She's then also able to use these abilities defensively and peel for you really strongly in those team fights. Now, one of my personal favorites, Morgana. Yet again, she is able to combo with your Flame Chompers using her Dark Binding, and she can also protect you from CC, which is really strong on Jinx, with her Black Shield. She's then even able to use her Soul Shackles to basically peel for you in team fights. So here are 3 other really strong support champions with Jinx, and first up we have Braum. Now his passive requires 4 basic attacks on the target to proc and stun them, and since Jinx does have built-in attack speed from her minigun, you can proc it pretty quick. Then you get to use those Flame Chompers underneath that stun target and chain CC them. Braum is then also able to block a lot of range damage with Unbreakable and peel for you with Glacial Fissure. Now there is Thresh, and he's a support champion who basically gives Jinx everything she needs. His Flay and Death Sentence can be used offensively to get kills or defensively to peel for Jinx. If Jinx is then caught out of position, he can save her with his Dark Passage, and in team fights, he can provide a lot of slows, making it easier for Jinx to kite. Last, there is Janna. She can block a lot of damage for you with her shield, and also add damage to you at the same time. She then also has 2 different ways to peel for Jinx, with both her Howling Gale and her Monsoon. Then finally, she does have a pretty strong slow from her Zephyr, and it can make landing your Flame Chompers a lot easier. Don't forget about the man himself, Tommy Kench though. He is the best support in the game. So much peel, he makes everybody mad.
I am appetite focused.
Jinx's lane phase is kind of mediocre, and your goal is to get as much CS as possible and harass the enemy whenever you can between that CS. If you are with a support who can crowd control that you can combo with, then you're going to want to use your Flame Chompers to chain CC the enemy. Whenever your support lands their CC, follow up with your own, and when it's about to expire, use Zap to slow and try to finish them off for a kill. Now whenever the enemy has backed, make sure you shove that minion wave so they miss a lot of XP and gold. Jinx is also a very strong tower pusher, so try to take it down as soon as you can. Of course you do this with all the attack speed from your minigun. Now Jinx has a pretty damn strong mid game. She'll start to do a lot of damage and grab a lot of farm with the Runaans. If you haven't destroyed the bot lane tower, then you want to get it down as soon as possible. And once you finally do, try rotating top and mid to get them down as well. However, keep in mind you are an AD carry and at that a hyper carry, so picking up a lot of CS is very important, so make sure you're doing so. In team fights, make sure you're positioning in the back line. You have no escape, and if you get jumped on, you may be killed instantly. Make sure you're using your rocket launcher to stay at a safe range, but if you do get dived on by a single bruiser, use minigun for more damage. In late game teamfights, yet again, make sure you're located in the back line. Preferably, you'll want to be near your support or somebody else who can help peel for you if somebody does get on top of you. Use your rocket launcher to deal damage when you can't use your minigun safely. If somebody is trying to get onto you, try to apply Zap or Flame Chompers to stop them. Or of course, in the case of Zap, slow them. Next, try saving your Super Mega Death Rocket until some of the enemy is low and clumped up. It can deal a hell of a lot more damage in a situation where people are low, rather than when they are on high health. So here are a couple of your hardest AD carry matchups, and lucky for you, 2 of them you don't really see. First up though is Miss Fortune, and she's a lot stronger than Jinx early on. Try not to trade with her too much early, because usually she's going to come out on top. Then try not to be behind minions, because if you keep getting hit by double up, you're going to get destroyed. Finally, you're going to want to make sure you avoid Make It Rain whenever you can, so her support can't chain CC you. Now next we have Twitch, and he's really hard to deal with due to his early game burst. Make sure you don't get caught out alone, because he will engage on you with his ambush, then burst you with his Venom Cask, plus Contaminate to kill you very quickly. Make sure you're never alone in lane, because the second your support leaves, you could be dead. Now Varus has a lot of poke with his piercing arrow and hail of arrows, and can be very tough for you to deal with since you don't have any mobility. All you have to do in this matchup is avoid them as much as possible, and don't get hit by Chain of Corruption. It will wreck your face. Alright ladies and gentlemen, let's cover that item build, and we're going to start with a Doran's Blade, Health Potion, and Warding Totem. For our core items, we get a Runaan's Hurricane, Infinity Edge, and Berserker Greaves. Runaan's is incredibly OP on Jinx since the splash does work with Runaan's, and obviously Infinity Edge is a great way of doing a ton of damage. Now this lighter gray area in the middle is all of our item options. For attack speed, first we have the RFC, which is something I really like because with your rockets, it has really long range on your first attack. Phantom Dancer is a very fine option as well, and Shiv is okay, but since we do have a lot of AoE from our Runaans and our rockets already, it's not something I pick up too much. Now if we want straight up lifesteal, the Bloodthirster is probably the best option, but I do really like the Mercurial in most cases, since it does have a QSS and you can break CCs. But if we were against an incredibly tanky team, Blade of the Ruined King would be a great pickup as well. For armor penetration items, we have the LDR for straight up damage, and the Mortal Reminder if we do need to apply grievous wounds. Then for defensives, Guardian Angel, always great for coming back to life, Mercurial Scimitar, yet again, great for breaking out of CCs, and Banshee's Veil, great for blocking multiple CCs over a long duration fight. So for my normal build, I'll take that core, add an RFC for some nice added crit and attack speed, then get a Mercurial Scimitar to break CCs. Then at the very end, since stuff will always have armor in the late game, at least usually, then I'll get an LDR. For full build number 2, we instead wanted a Guardian Angel at the very end, so instead of getting extra attack speed, we got the Bloodthirster for that lifesteal, and an LDR yet again. Both are fantastic builds, and pretty much the ones I stick to in every single game. With the item build over, that concludes this Jinx guide. If you guys did enjoy the guide, please make sure you like, and if you are new here, you could always subscribe. We do have a website where we list all of our champion guides, egamingtv.com, and you can also find us on Twitter at egaming_TV, which is where we do our skin giveaways. But anyways, thank you guys a ton for watching, I really hope you enjoyed the guide, and I will see you guys in the next champion guide. Peace!
I guess that I just proved that I'm far from fucking useless. I'm so done from talking the facts. All my life been bound in the back. 180 my life when I got in a rap. Hard as hey, baby, wanna get strapped. but now I'm known all over the map. So check my stats, every fucking beat demolished when I snap, it's fucking game.